All right, so here are going to be the first two problems on tonight's homework worked out for you. The first one I already have completed. So when you read the problem, you learn that Alfonso and Raphael need to raise at least $300. So that means that whatever they earn has to be greater than or equal to $300. They're charging $6 per hamburger, which is X, so 6X. And that's going to be added to the $3 they're charging per hot dog plus 3Y. So that's where we get the inequality 6X plus 3Y is greater than or equal to 300. Next, you need to go ahead and find your intercepts. So to find the x-intercept, that means y is going to be equal to 0 because you're moving horizontally, but there's no vertical change. So when you substitute 0 in for y, you end up with 6x is greater than or equal to 300. We divide by 6, so x is greater than or equal to 50. So the ordered pair would be 50 for your x value, 0 for your y value. Your y-intercept we solve similarly, except for this time x is going to be equal to 0 and you're going to solve for y. So that leaves you with 3y is greater than or equal to 300. You divide both sides by 3 and you get y is greater than or equal to 100. So we plugged in 0 for x, which is y. 0 is the x value in the intercept and 100 is y. So then go ahead and graph your intercepts. I went ahead and labeled my x-axis as burgers and my y-axis as dogs for hot dogs. And I numbered both axes by 10. So my y-intercept shows me I can have 50 hamburgers when I have 0 hot dogs. And so you see a point at 50, 0. And then my y-intercept shows us that we have 0 hamburgers, and that would require us to sell 100 hot dogs. So we have a point at 0, 100. We go ahead and we connect those intercepts. I'm using a solid line because I can be greater than or equal to 300, which means the points on the line would also make the inequality true. I want to earn at least $300, so I have to be greater than 300, and so that's why I'm shading above the line. Possible solutions just means to pick 3 points that make it true. Well, we know the intercepts make it true because it's a solid line, so I chose those, and then I just picked any other point in the shaded area. All right, so there's a variety of answers that you could use. These are just the 3 I chose. So let's look at number 2, and I'm going to work this out with you. Wanda wants to buy some picture frames for her home. Small frames, which we're representing with X, cost $8 each, and large frames, Y, cost $12 each. Wanda wants to spend less than $60 on picture frames. How many small and large frames can she buy? So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and write our inequality. We know that our small frames are $8 each, so 8x. We're also purchasing large frames, so we're going to add the cost of large frames. And we know she wants to spend less than $60. So that means that her spending, the 8x plus 12y, has to be less than 60. That's all the money that she has for her picture frames. Okay? So next, we need to find our intercepts. So remember, for our x-intercept, we're going to set y equal to 0 and solve for x. So that's going to leave us 8x is less than 60. So x is less than 7.5. Next, we need to find our y-intercept. So by definition, we know x has to equal 0. So we go ahead and plug that in for x. 8 times 0 is 0, so we're left with 12y is less than 60. We divide by 12 and find out y is less than 5. So now that we have our intercepts, I'm going to just go ahead and write them down. I know my x-intercept gave me 7.5, 0, and the y-intercept was 0, 5. So our next step tells us to go ahead and plot those y-intercepts, or I'm sorry, both those intercepts. So we have our x and our y. X is our small frame, so I'll just put a little SF for small frames. Y is our large frames, so we have an LF. And now I can go ahead and just number by ones, since my values are pretty small. So I have 1 to 10 on my x, and 1 to 10 on my y. My x-intercept is 7.5, 0, so that tells me I'm going to go to the right 7.5, but there's no vertical change. So I stay right there at 7.5. My y-intercept is 0, 5. So I don't move horizontally, I just go up 5. This is only a less than, so I'm going to have a dotted line or a dashed line connecting those two intercepts. Okay. That line indicates where we're equal to 60. Now, we want to spend less than $60, so we have to stay under the line. So we're going to shade below. Our three possible solutions are any three that you want to pick. In this case, we cannot choose the intercepts because we have to be less than 60 and the intercepts are equal to 60. So I'm just going to pick anything that falls in the shaded area. Wanda can buy 1 small frame and she can buy 3 large frames. That's in the shaded area because it's right where I plotted. She could buy 0 small frames and 2 large frames. That's going to be less than $60. Or she could buy 3 large frames and no small frames. And all of those would satisfy the inequality. Good luck on your other 4 problems tonight.